Hey, party people! I'm Jeff Stormer, and this is the Party of One podcast, an actual play RPG podcast focused on two-player role-playing experiences. On every episode of Party of One, I sit down with a different guest. We play a new, two-player tabletop role-playing game. We have a great time, and we tell a self-contained story in about 90 minutes or less. Episodes range across a huge field of genre, setting, and emotional experiences, and really every episode gets at the heart of what is beautiful and exciting about telling stories with your friends. Sometimes we share a few laughs, as in our playthrough of No Springs, which is a two-player role-playing game about imagining a fictitious 1950s precautionary industrial film. Here my guest Starshine and I imagine what happens to the library in a world without podcasts. I'm summoning an object from thin air as you walk into the library. We get the cinematic effect of like when somebody opens the door and there's like a band playing where like you're kind of blown back by the air for a second and the noise volume. Wally either side of his weird vacillating waveform puts on a pair of earmuffs and walks in. And there are just people screaming at each other, and every single table is just random people just yelling at each other with their full fury.
Oh. Henry just puts his fingers in his ears. What's going on in here? Libraries are meant to be quiet!
Well, you see, without history podcasts, every angry person with an opinion about the war, it doesn't matter which war, every angry person was forced to relocate to the library where they will have their loud, red-faced, angry arguments with one another instead of with a microphone. And I'm going to roll another 3 dice to take another action.
Oh dear.
Now that actually gives you 2 new dice because I matched in 6s and I matched a 2. So, let me ask you this. So, previously, I rolled a 4, a 5, a 6, and a 2.
Yes.
Now, this time, that was the 4 dice I rolled last time. This time, I rolled 3 dice, and I rolled 2 6s and a 2. Mm-hmm. Does that mean that, do the 2s match, so I give you a dice for the 2s, even though it was my last roll?
Mm-hmm.
Great, so take a dice for that, and then you'll take 2, is it 2 dice if I roll 3 matches?
No, just the one. If we get one match,
you'll take 2 dice back, putting me down to 5 dice, putting you up to 3 dice.
3.
But what happens is at the same time, you are very nearly bowled over. You are very nearly bowled over by somebody wearing like a medieval cloak and like swinging from a rope. And every modern mythology major without having their own mythology and folklore podcast has just been acting out various pieces of mythology right here in the library.
Mother said this would happen. This is why she told me to become a plumber.
Sometimes our games are deathly serious, as in Our Love Will Destroy Us, a game about 2 vampire hunters, Caius and Lamont, trying to convince the mutual love of their life, Rick the vampire, to resist the hunger and stay with them throughout the night. As Rick lashes out with the knowledge that the people that he loves are also the people that were ordered to kill him in case he ever harms an innocent person. Rick, you're so fucking stubborn sometimes. You know that? Like, I love you. You are the love of my life, but you are the most stubborn motherfucker that I have ever met. Don't you see that you can, you can change this. We can work with you to change this. You don't have to try and change it alone. You might be on a path, you might be on a track alone, but there are 2 other people in this room that have defied orders and fortified a radio studio, which is not something that I ever thought was going to be on my resume, for the purpose of taking care of you. If that can't change a decision, if that can't change your mind on this, I truly don't know what could. And I hope that you see that. And the card is the 9 of coins. How does the hunger strike back?
The hours of writing reports.
Interesting.
I think, Rick is just going to sort of gesture towards the area of this studio where, like, definitely they're, like, I don't know, like, supernatural-esque, like, library of vampire information is. And just point to the filing cabinet that's probably overfilling with reports and, like, missives from the guild and things like that. And say, if the guild has been working on this sort of thing for centuries, right? Like, you've told me that. All of this work that you do is not new. If at some point there was a way to change this, and a way for me to be better, and a way for this to not end in my death or yours or somebody else's, wouldn't someone have figured that shit out by now? You spend fucking hours doing your observations and your reports and sending fucking pigeon letters back and forth to some cathedral in Italy, and you haven't figured out how to fix it yet. So why am I supposed to believe that you'll be able to just because of us?
I do think Lamont cracks the soda and it's like, there's got to be a better way than pigeons. I've been saying this for months. Sometimes our episodes are classic role-playing game adventures, as in Apocalypse Keys, a game about monstrous secret agents battling back the apocalypse.
First Occurred, you can see all of these screens, like, out in the open, and you see Angel Goramel's body just, like, slumped up in the front. And you see, like, Vex facing the monitors, and these huge tentacles sprouting from her back, right? And when she moves her body, she doesn't use her legs like the Kraken's tentacles pushes her instead when she turns around to face you, and she kicks over Angel Goramel's body, right? But you hear them make a sound, right? Mm-hmm. Like, Goramel isn't dead yet, right? But one of his wings have been torn off, and Vex is carrying it. And she looks at you, and she says, I only have to press the button, and all the Bellas of the world, all of them. And you can see, like, all the monitors turn on, and there are all these little girls all over the world that look like Bella, right? Mm-hmm. Because Division built a fail-safe. Of course they did. Against monsters like us. Against monsters wearing human skins. I only have to press the button. And she's reaching out, and you can tell she doesn't want to. What do you do?
I think back to all of the times. I think back to 1982. And I think back to a moment when it was Vex and I. Angel was up in the skies, and it was Vex and I on the ground, and there were skeletons as far as the eye can see. And there was a moment where a skeleton had... It was just before Angel was coming from the skies to rescue us, to pull us up. The skeletons, a spell had been activated. We closed the door, but the skeletons remained. They needed to be wiped out, but Division has teams for that. But one of these ghouls had latched itself onto my arm, and I couldn't get it off. And there was a moment where Vex speaks, and it is overlaid with what I say, and that is, it'll grow back. And swirling the spear in my hand, I know that it is not Vex in control of that hand at this moment. I know that she doesn't want to push that button. And I'm going to ensure that she can't push that button. Because it'll grow back. Vex will be fine. And I am going to cut that hand off with my spear. And sometimes our episodes are, frankly, completely out there, as in Decaying Orbit, a game about the dying thoughts of a space station as it slowly orbits into the sun.
And we launch a transmission back to the Krypton Deep Space Probe, and it will hit that, and it will reflect that back to the Saturn outer reaches, and then it will pass the James Webb Space Telescope, and then it will land back on Earth if we are lucky. And with this kind of simulacrum of humanity that we have managed to build within ourselves. We send a message across those like hundreds of languages that says, "We are sorry. We were not prepared for what we brought with us."
Damn.
And then the station falls into the sun as the last of like wheels of the last rover leaves the chrome of our station into space.
And sometimes on the show, you'll hear something that, frankly, you won't hear anywhere else, as in our episode Broken, which is a 2-player role-playing game about the end of a relationship that also uses the physical breaking of objects as its central mechanic.
I just think that, right now the store is in kind of a bad place. We just made the switch over to digital. It's the convention was not a big success. I know this, you know this. So, there's a lot going on that I don't think we've considered fully.
I know that. I know. But
there's a but. Yes, of course I knew there's a but.
Well, yeah, because it is our wedding.
I don't understand why it has to be. I mean, I'm treading old ground here. We've had this conversation before, but really, I'm thinking, there's a time and a place for something that requires this much planning, right? And two guys who run a video store in Shermer, Illinois.
And I know that, like, I've think, starts to tear up a little bit, like, yeah, but, like, when am I going to have that moment otherwise? We're two guys that run a video store in Shermer, Illinois. Like, everything else in my life has been Shermer, Illinois.
Okay, that's not fair, because you are a smart guy and you can go anywhere you want. And you have the business sense that I know that you could succeed at this no matter where you were.
Yeah, but I don't want to succeed it. I don't want to succeed.
Well, what do you want, Ted?
I want to feel like a prince for one night. Like, I like being here. I would like a night where, we get to feel glitzy and glamoury. Like, I don't want to leave, but I do want to, jazz it up a little.
Well, what if I do want to leave?
Why would you want to leave? Like, why on earth would you want to leave?
I mean, are you kidding? We've got the biggest thing in town is the Radio Shack.
Well,
and it's going on.
It was.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. It's a Best Buy now, and so we're kind of losing the local flavor here. Is not exactly.
No, I hear you. I hear you. I really do. I don't know. I really thought you really don't want to hang around. Like, you really. Do you, like, hold on, I need to ask you, I'm so sorry I need to ask you this.
All right.
I'm rolling my eyes saying the words, and forgive me. You're gonna dunk on me, you're gonna make fun of me for it, and, like, I am giving you permission. I'm giving you one dunk. I'm giving you one. Let's make that clear. When I ask that, do you not see yourself here in 5 years? In 10 years, or whatever you want to define as the future? I know, it's a corny question.
I've been looking into some options.
Oh. That kind of thought there was going to be a dunk. That's actually way worse. And now I'm about to hit this apple with a hammer. Let's see how this goes, Maxon. So I'm now so fucking nervous. Fuck. Fuck, that's really satisfying. Shit. You can find new episodes, listening guides, Spotify playlists, and more at partyofonepodcast.com. Thanks for listening, and party on, everybody.